Okay, Sydney's just finished their thing. We'll be right back again.
We're not.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Sydney's...
Yeah, well, Joe, we got to do the intro though.
Yeah, go.
So I'll rip through that.
You rip through that.
Good day, everyone. How's it going? Yeah, we're live. Welcome to our first streamed event live. Hopefully it goes well with no technical issues. Trying to up our tech game here, and we're still quite a way off Sydney and Melbourne, but hey, we're getting there and got a collab going with them. Hopefully they can join us. So we'll rip through a quick introduction. They're going to join onto our live stream. So hopefully all going well, that works. And then we're going to switch over and we're going to jump onto their live stream. So I'd like to do a welcome to country. So we acknowledge the Jagara people and the Turrbal people as the traditional custodians of Meanjin, which is Brisbane, the lands we meet, work and learn. We pay our respects to the Jagara and the Turrbal elders of the past and present. Thank you to Intane and Oliver Jones for organising pizza here. We've got Intane here for sponsoring the venue at the moment and drinks. We've got Mantle Group for sponsoring the food. Housekeeping, I think everyone's pretty accustomed to this. We've got the toilets over there, drinks fridge over there, pizza there, beer on tap. Help yourself throughout the evening. Upcoming events. Next month is reverse engineering, which Rohan's going to do a talk on. Really knowledgeable on that, so that's going to be super interesting. I'm going to do a chat, I think, on, at the moment, loosely penciled in, but behind the scenes of SwiftUI, so there's quite a bit on the surface of SwiftUI that's not immediately apparent, so we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into that and trying to pencil in the story of an indie developer as well. So he has spun up a few side apps there and is working on it full time. It's enough to sort of look after him financially. He's got a couple of part-time people under him now as well and looking to bring them on full-time by the end of the year, which is really cool. So that would be awesome to get them in. And then we've got some lightning talks in June, so feel free to reach out on Slack. I'd love to hear from you if you would like to do a talk. The bar's really low. You can do a minute or two talk. You can do a 5-10 minute one. We'll just sort of loosely pencil them in. But just do a talk on like what you're currently working on or something you've refactored or, even just a bit of a like fun thing. Just the bar's really low. But I think it would be a good way to sort of bridge like going to do like a longer talk as well. Agenda for the evening, food, networking chats, that is well underway. I'm about to hand over to Oliver, who's going to do a talk on volunteering for She Hack Swift. Then we'll pass on to his partner Sarah. She's going to do a talk on International Women's Day action, which is going to be really cool. And then we'll cross over to Way down in Sydney. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Oliver Jones.
Cheers. Oh, stick us on so I don't have to hold it. Okay. We switch. Oh no. Why? It's alright. For some reason my slides got closed. Never mind, okay. Now I gotta remember where they were. There we go. Sorry. It's wrong screen. Sorry. How do you slideshow to the other screen?
It says no frames have dropped. It's getting around 6 to 8 FPS.
Station display option. Sorry about this. Is it going to work? Come on, Chrome. No, it's the wrong way around. Jesus. How do you do this?
You got any technical people in the room?
What on earth? So which side am I on here? No, can't. Fuck. Okay, this is annoying. Now I've lost my mouse pointer. Don't know which way the screen is. There we go, finally. Let me just do, let's try this again. Presenter view, no, that's on the right screen. Now I've got to get this one. Yeah, over there.
Nice.
That'll do. I don't know. I'm not a Chrome user or a Google Slides user normally, so please excuse my ineptitude. Anyway, g'day everyone. My name is Oliver Jones. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Obviously the people watching in Sydney or online don't know necessarily who I am, but I'm an Apple Platforms engineer working at Mantle Group. We're a big enterprise consultancy. We do all sorts of things from cloud, data, AI, and digital, which is the area I'm in, doing iOS development. So, yeah, full disclosure, doing this in conjunction with my wife, who runs Girl Geek Academy, which is an organisation she co-founded and is the CEO of, and she'll be speaking after me. And this, talk is about volunteering for a series of events that she did, that we did at Girl Geek Academy just recently, just before our child was born, in January. So in January, Girl Geek Academy ran She Hacks Swift hackathons. And we were fortunate enough to hold those hackathons at Apple's offices in Melbourne and Sydney. And Apple also very kindly offered and provided additional equipment for us to use, a whole bunch of MacBooks essentially. And that was a huge help, obviously, because this hackathon targets young women, teenage girls at school, and they don't necessarily have not all of them have parents who can afford to buy them a MacBook or an iPad that's capable of running iOS or, latest Swift Playgrounds or Xcode. So the hackathon, as I said, was targeting teenage girls, so teenage high school students. But some of those attended were as young as 11. That young 11-year-old blew me away. She came with her sister, older sister, and she, from the beginning anyway, appeared to not know a lot, but by the end was presenting like a pro, and that was amazing to see. The event makes no assumptions really around the skill level of the girls who attend. They can have no experience at all to being fairly experienced and maybe having attended previous She Hacks Swift, because Sarah has run these events, these hackathons in the past, previous years. When they come to the event, they're kind of thrown in the deep end. They're not, as I said, there's no assumption made about what their skill level is. But after day one, they've started working through tutorials online, like the Swift tutorials that Apple provides. And through the help of mentors and that, they're getting up to speed really quickly. It's quite amazing to see how fast these young people can, figure things out and get on with it. It's a 3-day hackathon. It's structured around the idea of the girls forming teams and forming startups and building startup ideas. They are sort of instructed to figure out how to build an MVP for their idea. They don't have to work in groups, but that's encouraged. We definitely had a lot of girls working in small groups, but the few individuals who I think probably were the more they had more experience with programming, and they were working by themselves, often on projects that already sort of started or had ideas for. But a lot of the girls were brought together and didn't know each other. Maybe some of them were from the same school, but maybe not actually friends with each other at that point. And part of that environment is to really sort of build those friendships and bonds between the girls so that they kind of can form a little team, a little group of Girl Geeks. And one of the principal ideas that Girl Geek Academy is founded on is this idea of you need multiple different skill sets in a group to make a successful product and make a successful team. In Girl Geek Academy, they have this idea of the hipster, the hacker, and the hustler. So the hipster being someone who's the designer or the artist, the hacker obviously being the more technical focused individual, and the hustler being the getting stuff done, kind of organizing sales sort of person in that team. And so what Girl Geek Academy and through the She Hack Swifts and other events that they run want to foment amongst these girls is the idea that they don't necessarily have to be the best technical person on the team. They can fall into one of those roles and still be valuable to their team. And that gives them, confidence and knowledge that they can, get things done. So as a mentor, I'd actually, although obviously being husband to Sarah, I am aware of the hackathons that they've done in the past. I've never actually mentored at one before. And so this year was the first time that I did that. And as a mentor, your role really is to try and unlock the students or the participants' ideas and provide expertise that helps them make progress towards their goals. And I was constantly surprised at how little help the students often needed. Once you unlock them, they would plow ahead and get on with their ideas. Unblocking them usually just was solving a particular technical problem. Like, I don't know, one group had totally screwed up their Git repo, and they were the only ones using GitHub and Git. So, but they were doing it, and they were sharing their files through pushing code up and up, and they were just committing to main, but it was working for them. And then somehow, I think actually one of the other mentors came and said, "Oh, you should be making a branch," and that totally screwed them up. So anyway, so I fixed that for them, and they were away laughing again, and they were just banging away, and they presented an amazing app at the end. It was really, really surprising, especially considering one of the girls, like half the keys on a keyboard weren't even there. That had popped off. So. One of the key things that I had to constantly check myself on actually in helping and being a mentor in this situation is to not be too helpful. As it says on the slide there, you've got to avoid playing the game, right? It's like, you've got a little kid, a little brother or something, a little sister, and she's trying to, play a video game, and you're like, "Oh, it's just this," and you take the controller off them, and you're like, "Oh, there we go, you've completed the level," when you hand it back, and they're like, "Why'd you do that for?" Because they were having fun actually with the challenge. Sometimes the challenges in software development aren't fun, and they're just frustrating. So you're there to try and help get out of those things, but you don't want to hand them the answers, because that's part of the growth and the enjoyment of what they're doing is actually knowing that what they built themselves. But certainly, as an expert in software engineering from an iOS perspective, you can be there to give them guidance on asking the right questions and where to get the information, or maybe look at this GitHub repo that's got that feature already for you, or whatever, or just steal code out of that Swift tutorial or sample code that's on Xcode's website, on Apple's website. I found it particularly hard because often the girls' ambitions sort of exceeded the available time, and you want them to be successful and have something at the end. You don't want them to have nothing or half finished or stuff like that. So in those situations, what really they need is guidance on scope reduction or keeping things focused and stuff. But having said that, some of the little teams that formed just built these amazing apps with lots of features. So sometimes you can get a lot done in 3 days if you have got enough enthusiasm and don't mind what the code looks like. Another thing you have to always keep in mind as an engineer, I think, and as a mentor or someone who has a lot of experience when you're dealing with people who are at an inexperienced level, is that you've always got to be plussing. So plussing is the idea of responding with yes and rather than sort of negative or finding the problems in their ideas. And as an experienced engineer, it can be really difficult because engineers are taught to find all the edge cases and dig deep into requirements and find all of the potential problems before we build anything. And we do that in order to build robust solutions. But in the learning context, that can be limiting to the students. It's much better to, you just don't want to be telling them, oh, there's already one of those, or that's already, that's a dumb idea because it's not going to make any money or whatever. Like, you just want to be like, yeah, and what about, have you thought about this? And you can keep adding to help them refine their idea rather than saying, no, that's a bad idea or whatever. Because, that's not helpful. So one of the things that to mention is that obviously Apple has this Swift Student Challenge that happens every year as part of the Worldwide Developer Conference, where Apple invites students to submit their applications, not actually Xcode applications, but Swift Playground applications, which I learned you can actually make in Xcode recently, but I thought it was just out of Playgrounds, but you can do it in Xcode. But anyway, they have the Swift Student Challenge, and submissions happen in, submissions have happened already. I think they have to happen in February, but it's the idea that students submit, and then at the next dub, which will be in a couple of months, the students who have succeeded in impressing Apple sufficiently with their submissions get 50 of them. I think there's 500 winners overall, but globally, but they only take the top 50 and take them to Cupertino, and they get to enjoy 3 days of exciting events and meeting engineers and their peers from all around the world at Apple. And obviously, things like She Hacks Swift are a good entry point into the Swift Student Challenge, because at least for groups who do work, unfortunately can't do group work with Swift Student Challenge, but you can do individual submissions. But at least with having built something, they know they're more equipped to be able to do the Swift Student Challenge. Coincidentally, feedback we got was that since we started doing the Swift, She Hacks Swift, we've gotten a lot more submissions from students in Australia, particularly more diverse students, like women and gender diverse individuals, whereas previously it was, if we were getting any submissions, it was all dudes. So I recommend, I'm a bit biased here, but I recommend anyone who's an experienced engineer to get involved in this sort of thing. You don't have to just do Swift Student Challenge or the She Hacks Swift event, but if you do and you are interested in participating when we do the next ones, please let us know. And of course, obviously, if you're a parent and you have nerdy children, particularly girls, please enroll them in She Hacks Swift. The more the merrier. And yeah, that's it. I think I'm going to hand over to my lovely wife and take my baby. His birthday. It's her birthday today. Wow, her 2-month birthday. Yeah, take it.
Thanks. Awesome.
She's going to be
And the important question, iOS or Android?
All right, well, we've got the Sydney team listening, so we'll keep hopping through it. So what we've done, so last week in Melbourne at Cocoaheads, we shared the story about She Hacks Swift in Melbourne as well. And given that it happened in Sydney, we're live streaming to the Sydney people. And there's a really important reason that we do that. Hopefully next year we'll be able to bring it to Brisbane. What's important to know is that Queensland is one of the few school curriculums that actually teaches Swift. Most of the other states don't. And I've looked at all of the curriculums across the different states, and it's actually really heartwarming to see how well we actually do it up here. No offence, Sydney, but you know, you're always welcome to come visit and have a look. But there's some really important reasons that we do this stuff. So 2 years ago, the federal government kicked off a diversity in STEM review, and they said, so why are there not, you know, why do we not have gender equality in STEM in Australia? And so what we did was we spoke to our community, and we did a survey at Girl Geek Academy. So what are some of the things that you're facing, and what are the experiences that you're having? And so we submitted that policy document to the federal government, who largely ignored it. Yay. So that's why I keep banging the drum and going on about the things that we can do and what are the things that we can achieve. Because if we waited for the government to do those things, it's probably going to take a while. And so what we talk about is that we need to fix the system, not the girls. Like, it's not that girls aren't interested. I learnt to code when I was 5 years old on a micro-B computer, which is an Australian computer. But I got pushed out in year 10. And that was because I, you know, built a pink website. Apparently it was meant to be grey, and I got in trouble. And I was like, well, okay, maybe this isn't for me, was the messaging that I was getting. I was the last woman standing after being the first girl in my high school to enter computer programming competitions. But you just feel like you're really not meant to be there anymore. So we need to fix some of the things that are happening to girls and not fix the girls themselves. So She Hacks Swift is really about fixing the role modelling. Like, how are we actually going out there and saying, hey, this is for you, come play with us, come make friends, this is a welcome space for you to be in. And that's really targeting that number 3 there. So we could be better ambassadors of our career and our industry to be able to help bring women in and keep them there once they get there. We need to fix a lot of other things, but I'm not going to go through that, otherwise that'd be a very depressing talk. But what it is worth knowing is that it's not that women suddenly don't want to be in tech, or that they're suddenly pushed out, or there's just some particular thing. It's just the micro cuts that happen along the way over many, many years. As I said, for me, it took from year 5 to year 10. And at year 10, I went, you know, I'm just going to do legal studies. Like, there's just a heck of a lot less, you know, BS in that for me. I found my way back to tech, but I still didn't find it in the way that I could have if that was nurtured from the very start. And so what we talk about at Girl Geek Academy, so we often think about it as being a pipeline problem. Oh, the girls, you know, and women get pushed out, they get pushed out. Cool, that's not very helpful, but like, what do we actually need to do to wrap around them and say, no, no, you're welcome here at each point in the pipeline? So there's different things that we can do to take action, which was one of the themes for International Women's Day, is taking action on these issues. So yeah, it's the little things that really help women get included, and I'm going to share what some of those things are today, because we want to talk about solving these problems rather than just going, oh, stats. And we know what works. We just need to do more of it. So getting women to actually say, hey, this is what I want. This would make it better for me. Asking women to lead these solutions, not in a way that puts more work on them, but just in a way that they're involved in that consultation and that process. Budgets. So I don't know how many of you work for big corporates, but show me the line item that says we actually fund the programs that help these things happen. Because what happens is we often ask women to volunteer. Hey women, we have a women problem. Can you women please volunteer to fix the women problem? Which takes them away from the code, takes them away from the tools. And to be quite frank, they have to learn how to be event managers, which for those of you who are running these events, it's a completely different skill set to the engineering degrees that they have. And then targets work. So if you aim at nothing, you'll hit the mark. So being able to actually quantify and say, well, how many could we do? Like, what changes could we make? And actually setting targets bloody works. But there's a couple of other things that happen at those different stages. So this is the tiniest writing in the world because there's a lot of things and I didn't want to have to just share them all with you. But basically to say that at primary school, there's some things that we can do specifically for primary school girls. And that looks different to what we would do at high school. And that looks different to what we'd do at university, and that looks different to what we do as people in industry. Some of those contribute. So for example, as an industry person, you could volunteer at high school programs, but it's not a one size fits all. In the same way that people get pushed out by being nudged, we nudge them back in with a heck of a lot of different programs that we try to wrap around. But one of the biggest things that I wanted to share with you is this idea of being a bystander. We know what happens is it's not the people who are aggressively doing harm and saying, you know, I'm bullying you out. It's the fact that when something happens that's a bit not quite right, the rest of the room doesn't say anything. They don't call it out because it takes a bit to be brave to do that. And so, you know, one of my friends talks about we don't need safe spaces, we need brave spaces where people are like, nah, that's not okay, even if it's not happening to you. So I would just empower anyone if you say, well, what, you know, okay, there's this problem. I didn't cause the problem, I'm not doing anything. But the one thing you can do is say, if something's a little bit shit, call it out. And yeah, that makes all the difference. Even just to the person to hear it and go, oh, that person had my back, thank God. And so what we really need to do, just to reiterate, is that we want to fix the system, not the girls, and to take that message with us through everything that we do in terms of making an impact on the change that can be made. Because what we want to know is, what would the internet look like if there were more women building it? How would our apps look different? What types of markets would we service that look different? What problems would be solved that would, you know, actually be addressed? Only 3% of the, well, on a good year, 3% of the world's venture capital goes to women-led startups. Sometimes it is a heck of a lot less, and it is very sad and depressing. But, you know, if 97% of the big money in tech goes to funding ideas that men have had to change the world, well, then the world isn't going to change for women, or women don't get to say, here's how we make it better for everybody. And so the next speaker that you'll hear from tonight is talking about her journey. And what I really want you to hold in your mind as you're listening to her talk is, if I met this person along the way at different points in their journey, what could I have done to help that person? What are some of the things that you can't read on my slide, but it is there? What are some of the actions, the little actions you can take to include people in a tiny way? Because it takes a tiny bit of effort, but if we all do it, then that's how we'll make sure that there are more women building the internet. Thank you. We might have time for like 2 minutes of questions and answers if anyone has any, because I know we've got Way in Sydney. Did anyone in Brisbane have any questions for myself or Oliver? Great. Oh, do we have one? No. Ta. Great. Then I have a question for you. That was my cheeky methodology, which is, if you are free, one of the things that a lot of people have available to them that they don't utilise is corporate volunteer leave. So if your corporate says you can go and volunteer, we've deliberately designed this as a 3-day program, because that's about how much volunteer leave our organisations offer. So if you are interested, we time it, we're hoping to do it again in the school holidays in January next year. And if you need support to get there or anything like that, then please let us know, because your expertise is really helpful. But also we offer training. Oliver pretty much just trained you on how to be a mentor and how to work with young high school girls. One of the things that I find fascinating is a lot of people are scared to volunteer because they think that teenage girls are the scariest thing on earth, somewhat like that girl in the ring. So please don't be afraid. We would really encourage you. I'd encourage you to take a photo of this slide and keep it in your notes, because we would love to see you as a volunteer, and hopefully we can run it in Brisbane as well next year. Great. And I'll hand that over now to the Sydney team. We'll do the switcheroo. Thanks, Adam.
Awesome. Thank you. There you go. Sweet. Yes. Have we got a link to that stream on here at all? Is this on your computer?
It might have been closed with the other tab that was closed. Oh, there it is. Cool.
Awesome. Sweet. And then hopefully we can get some audio. Yeah. They're streaming us. And now we're streaming them. We've got Streamception going on.
I'll hand that over now to the Sydney team to do the switcheroo. Thanks, Adam.
Oh.